Hi, welcome to the latest in our series of videos on going electric with our EV. And you'll notice that this week we've gone electric, so that's the good news. It means the car's actually arrived. I think those of you who've seen previous videos will know that we didn't buy the car locally. We actually bought it from a dealer in Swindon, and because of lockdown and essential travel and all that sort of stuff, we took the option to not go and collect it in person, but to have it delivered for us. So it turns up on the trailer, and we had it delivered directly to our home, which was worked out really well in the end. Also, you might remember that we decided that we're going to have it delivered on Lindsay's birthday. It's not that it's a birthday present or anything like that. It's obviously just a car that we're buying. But it just seemed a nice idea to have it delivered on Lindsay's birthday anyway. And couldn't do a great deal else, couldn't go out for dinner or anything like that, so nice to have a new car to play with instead. So what we're going to do in this particular video today is actually show you the car for real. We're going to do a bit of driving around, give a good show round. I say the main thing we're going to do is focus on the differences between an EV and a petrol or a diesel car, or otherwise known as a nice car, and just to give you some sort of idea of our first experiences of it and how we got on. So without further ado, let's go and have a look at the car. Okay, so here we go. Big day's arrived, we've had the car delivered, and now time to take a little bit of a look around. Plan isn't really to give you a detailed review of the car, it's more just to point out what the differences are with an electric car to an internal combustion engine car really. But tell you what, let's take a look and see what it looks like. Okay, so here we go. At first glance, really it doesn't look any different to your regular Peugeot e2008, so it's a little bit bigger than the 208, just a little bit bigger, a bit more of an SUV sort of style, but I suppose the two big key differences, obviously you can tell it's electric, it's got an E in front of it like everything else, but also the fact that you've got the green on the number plate, which is the new standard for electric vehicles, so they can be identified in cities. So those are probably the first key differences that we've got. But as I say, take a look around and we'll see what we've got as well. Again, from a charging point of view, again it looks just like a filler cap really. If we pop that open, you can see that's where the charge point is. I'll do a little video on charging a little bit later. So that's one key difference. And then the other thing, of course, that you're going to need is charging cable. So what they've done in this particular car, they've given us a little bit of a false floor, and what we can do with this false floor is that's where we can keep the charging cable, keep it in its case down there. At the moment we haven't bought one of the granny charger cables. We decided we'd wait and see how we go with that. That's the one that will allow you to charge on a normal electric socket, but we haven't decided to buy one of those just yet. We'll see how we get on without it. Now, probably one of the differences with these particular cars, and this is the Peugeot, the Citroën, and also the Vauxhall electric cars, is they have been built on top of a new electric platform. So it looks like a skateboard, but then they use standard bodies from the normal cars on top. So where with some cars what you get is what's called a frunk, if you're in America, a front trunk, or a fruit in the UK, a front boot, and you have some storage. With these cars you don't. You basically have what's like an engine bay, but this is all the electronics for the motor. So we don't actually have any storage in the front, unlike some of the EVs that have been purpose-built, just pure EVs. Okay, let's have a little look inside. So give you a bit of an idea on the interior, and let's just jump inside, have a little look. I'll show you a few basics, I'll show you how it works. So the first thing is starting. Again, push button start. So brake on the pedal, hold button down, and it starts. Now I don't know how well this comes over on the video, but what you've basically got is a three-dimensional cockpit. I've got to admit, I quite like this because a lot of the cars, EVs, have like a big tablet in the centre, and you don't have actually anything dashboard wise in front of you. But what they've done with the Peugeot is basically giving you a normal looking dashboard and then a little mini tablet on the side for a lot of the controls. So at least you've got your speedo on here, but also you've got your sat nav, and again, still to explore all the functions, but you can configure it and change what gets displayed there, as you can see. From a gear point of view, what you've got down here is engaging the gears. So basically it's two choices, forwards or backwards. Obviously it drives like an automatic in the fact that there are no gears. Difference is with an automatic car you have gears and you feel it going up and down, but in electric you just get power and it's just all power and no gears at all. But one thing you will see, I don't know how the reflection will show on this, but you might be able to see there is a D mode and a B mode, and what we'll do a little bit later is we'll show a video of the B mode in use, and this is when the regenerative braking kicks in when you take your foot off the accelerator. Another personal little favourite of mine I really like is the charge point, basically wireless charging. So basically just chuck your phone in there and it'll charge wirelessly, which is pretty neat as well. So there you go. But that's a bit of an insight into the interior of the car, and then obviously of course on the main screen here you've got all your controls and stuff like that. So that's where the fun starts. So obviously you can see what your flow is for your battery, but then also look at your statistics for how things are going, performance and mileage, and then of course when you're in charging, this is where you can decide whether you're going to charge immediately or whether you're going to defer the charging for later. It's also probably worth mentioning there's different drive modes as well, so if we have a look at the different drive modes, you can see that we have an eco mode, and what that's basically, when you're running out of battery, that allows you to sort of switch a lot of the electrics off in the car so that it uses as little power as possible. But then obviously you've got your normal drive mode as well, and then sport mode if you want to use that. So a few choices. Still to learn a lot about the car though, because we've hardly driven it just yet. I think there's about 20 miles on the clock. Yeah, 29 miles, so still got a lot to learn. Okay, here we go. So first thing is very quiet, because obviously there's no engine running, which makes it very, very quiet. A couple of things. Firstly, the drive modes. What you can see, there's two drive modes. There's D and B. D is normal drive. B is brake mode, which is basically to use regenerative braking. The idea being is that you just use your accelerator as much as you can, and you don't actually need to use the brake as much because it brakes itself when you take your foot off the accelerator. Tell you what, let's go into charge mode, and what we can see here at the moment, what we can see is when it's blue, that's using the battery and the power, and then when it goes green, that's when the regenerative braking kicks in. So what you'll find in a second when we approach a junction and Lindsay takes her foot off the accelerator, the car will sort of start to brake itself without using the brake, and then what you'll also see is that that goes green, which tells us that it's regenerating the battery. So that's the first feel of it. Okay, first ever charge. Let's have a look at what's involved. Not really sure. So here is the charging flap, which of course is locked because the car's locked. So let's just unlock the car and pop that open, and there you go, there's the charger inside. This plastic cover allows us to use other types of chargers as well at public charge stations, but you don't need those for home charger, just the one at the top. Notice the sort of locking symbol there. Okay, go grab the cable. So here we go. Just unwind this. Idea is, of course, we could put the car in the garage and charge it in the garage if we wanted to. There you go. There comes the cable. And that in there. Little green and red light. And basically I think that means it's charging. And in fact, if we try and pull, you'll notice that that's locked. So that means somebody can't unplug it while it's charging, which is rather useful. And then if we pop inside the car, we should be able to see how it's going. And there you go. So what can we see? Yeah, complete charge in 1 hour 45 minutes. Oh, down to 130 actually as it's picking up speed. Charge of 26 miles an hour. Currently got 140 miles of range, which is 81%. So it'll actually be slow charging at this point in time because it charges on a fast charge up to 80% and then it's a slower charge from 81% to 100 to protect the battery. But that's as simple as it is. Literally just plug it in and go. One thing we can do, of course, is we can set the timer to charge it on cheap energy. But for now we're just going to work out how to do it on the basic charge, so see how it goes. Right, here we go. Let's see if everything's gone to plan and see if the car has been charged and see what we've got to play with. So let's have a little look. And there we go, charging finished. 192 miles, 100% charge, so there you go. Looks like that was as simple as it gets really. Of course probably not going to get 192 miles out of it, especially this time of year, because batteries aren't quite so efficient in the winter, and if you need heaters on, and of course a lot of it depends on how you drive, but gives us some sort of idea of what we've got to play with. Okay, just the last thing just to show you before we finish this little drive. I just wanted to show you the drone camera. The really cool thing about this, the car actually comes with its own drone that flies above it, so that when you're reversing you basically can see an aerial view of your car and work out exactly where all the things are on the pavement, all your lines and all that sort of stuff, which is pretty neat. I've got the first time I've driven a car that does that, but that is pretty cool. You can even see all the drain covers and stuff. Ideal for the white lines and stuff when you're trying to park. So there we have it. A little bit earlier I mentioned about the range in the winter, and the one thing we haven't worked out yet is preheating the car before we use it. In the winter, if the car's plugged in, you can preheat it before you drive away. Couple of advantages. Firstly, this not only defrosts the car for you, but it also warms the cabin using the mains electricity, and of course that means you're not draining the battery when driving while trying to warm the car up, and obviously the result of that is it preserves the range of the car. So that's something we need to work out, and I think we do that off the app on the phone. And I think that's the other thing to mention. One thing that we didn't show is that the car's basically like a mobile phone on wheels, with a battery and a screen and all that sort of stuff. And as we all know, with phones and technology, you have to keep the operating system and the apps updated. So one of the things we had to do was download all the updates onto a memory stick and install them, which took quite a while. I think this is probably where Tesla have got it now, because I think they do a lot of their uploading and updates remotely. The car connects to the Wi-Fi and does it all itself. So that was a bit more of a manual process, which was a bit of an inconvenience. And to be honest, maybe this is something the dealer should do before they deliver the car. But of course, like every piece of technology you buy, they always need updating when you use them for the first time. And I suppose that brings me on to another point, and that's how much functionality will you miss out on if you haven't got a smartphone connected to your car. Are these vehicles really for the tech savvy and not so much for the general user? So as we use it, I'll keep an eye on how much the phone comes into play. Certainly operating timers and all those sorts of things. I think they're virtually essential, really. But I'll keep an eye on it and report that back in the future. So I'm going to wrap it up for today. Next things really is looking at doing some longer journeys and seeing what the mileage is like and how far we can get on a charge. Also want to have a look at using public chargers, especially fast chargers. So looking at some of the things like the 50 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt chargers where you can charge the car in 30-40 minutes, that sort of thing. But we'll do another video on those as and when we get a bit more experience. So thanks for watching. I say hit subscribe or like, and keep an eye on any new videos that are coming out. Thanks very much.